Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human nature stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today it's Saturday, and it's March the 14th, 2026. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently here on these YouTube streets that you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. So feel free to like and to share this video. And don't forget to subscribe. And our story today is coming out of the Marine Corps base at Camp Lejeune here in North Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, North Carolina man guilty of sexually abusing an autistic child at Camp Lejeune. I'll provide you with a summary here, and I'll identify some of my sources for you in the description box. Now, this news story is definitely a parent's worst nightmare. Imagine having a guest in your home and you walked into your child's room only to find your host guest violating your young child, a disabled and a nonverbal child, a special needs child who couldn't tell anybody what was happening to her. Imagine that. How would you respond? Now, you don't have to answer right now because I want you to understand what happened to this family at Camp Lejeune. And there's one thing I hope parents get out of this video. You simply can't trust anyone around your children. And this is a case that was prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of North Carolina, and the date of this reporting was March the 5th, 2026. The victim is a 9-year-old girl described as being severely autistic and nonverbal. So she does not speak, and it appears she required a considerable amount of care and support each day. Now, so she was vulnerable in so many ways, and unfortunately, because of her existing medical condition, she was unable to tell her parents when something is wrong. And that's probably one of the most painful parts of the story. And our story is also about this 41-year-old man, David Mayers, a resident of Fayetteville, a civilian who was visiting this particular family on Camp Lejeune. So let me stress, he was not an active duty service member. He was described as a family friend, and based on the information presented by the Attorney General's office, it appears he most likely had been a frequent visitor to this residence on the Marine Corps base, which is where the incident took place. And here are the facts of the case as reported by the Department of Justice. And keep in mind that some aspects of the case are not being released to the public because of the age of the child. According to report, Mays apparently was alone in the home with his 9-year-old autistic child. The mother stated she came early and found the bedroom door to her daughter's room closed. The mother said she found this unusual. In fact, the report states she said it was alarming. The finding was alarming. The mother then opened the door and caught Mays in the act as he was violating her child. Now, we're not exactly sure how she responded by what she saw. One can only imagine, but the authorities were called to the scene, and because this incident involved a civilian on a military base, the Navy Criminal Investigation Service team, as well as the civilian authorities, investigated the case. And let's briefly look at the evidence. Investigators found a tub of petroleum jelly in the child's room. May's fingerprints were on the container. No question, he had put it there. Now, forensic testing showed the victim's DNA on Mayer's genitals and petroleum jelly substance around the genitals of both Mayers as well as the young victim. And despite the denials from Mayers, we all know that DNA don't lie. Besides the fact that a parent saw him abusing that child. So Mayers was arrested and charged with RAPE of this autistic 9-year-old child. And despite the strength of the evidence that could not be disputed, which included the presence of DNA and an eyewitness, Mayers still refused to admit his guilt. And this forced the prosecutors to have to proceed with a jury trial, and most of all, forcing the family to have to relive the facts of the case in an open courtroom. And the evidence presented to the jury just could not be ignored. The jury found him guilty on March the 5th, 2026, guilty of aggravated RAPE of an autistic and nonverbal 9-year-old child. Now, he will be sentenced at a later date, and the prosecutors have already stated they plan to push for the maximum sentence allowed by law, and that's between 30 years and life in prison. But then again, they only advocate for it, and the judge makes his own independent decision. But one can only hope that the victim impact statements that's delivered by parents and others key personnel will be strong enough to send him away for the rest of his life. But I've got a few questions. Who was David Mayers? As a military community, we don't usually allow civilians on our base, especially not for extended periods. So who was David Mayers? Reports say he was from Fayetteville, which is just about 2 hours away. I wonder what he was doing alone with that child. Was he the babysitter? How come he was alone with this 9-year-old nonverbal autistic child who obviously needed a certain level of care? There had to have been a lot of trust involved in this relationship for parents to leave him alone with this special needs child. So I'm just a little bit confused. I mean, there's a piece to this puzzle that's missing. But no explanation will be sufficient to justify what happened to this little girl. But it does suggest again that we just have to be very careful, and you just can't trust anybody around your children, not even the people you think you know. But I'll try to stay on top of this case, and I'll bring you updates whenever they become available. Sentencing date has not been identified, but I'll bring you that information as an update whenever it becomes available. And that's all I have for you right now, but feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks like just like this one, that's the notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.